Apologies for coming up a little bit late, guys. I spent all the livelong day battling smoke slash carbon monoxide detectors, sensing phantom stuff in the air that just doesn't exist. Would have much rather been outside because it was a third consecutive beautiful day with the sun out, temps in the high 70s, just a light breeze. Consequently, the weather has us back on the grass at Mount Air. At long last, you wanted it, you begged for it, you got it. One reason folks like turf races, they produce bigger, deeper fields, and such is very much the case tonight as the three grass races contain right now, I think, 27 or 28 horses slated to start, and that's more than they get on dirt at Mountaineer for sure. But there's an old expression in life. You better be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. And tonight's grass races, in my opinion, and this is certainly subjective, are diabolical for one reason. They are all 5 furlong sprints. And I know a lot of really good handicappers that avoid turf races at short distances, like Steve McQueen avoids driving the old family station wagon. You know, the old Woodies that go super slow? Yeah, baby. Yeah. Two of them that involve winners are just stuffed with lookalike forms and similar running styles, and you'll get a headache looking at those races. In fact, maybe you already have. And the other's a maiden race with scant turf experience to go on. They are slow dirt horses or first time starters, straight up first time starters. So just try getting a handle on some of the grass action tonight. I wish you luck. Personally, I'm going to get more down at the windows when things flip back over to dirt for the duration of the card. I think in race number 5 tonight. And I've got a banner back up there that I'm going to put it up for you that describes last night's grain over the mountain main. At least I did have a banner. Let me see if I can find this thing. Yeah, speed again had an edge on last night's fast surface, although not to the same extent as on Monday. Ground-saving trips, and I think this could be important going in, seemed to me to have a distinct advantage yesterday. And since the weather's the same, since the track rating is going to be the same fast mountain main, then maybe look for more of the same. But we'll know more about that a little bit later. For now, rejoice, because I know you wanted grass. You asked for it. You got it. Those smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors have been driving me batshit crazy all day. You can disconnect them. They don't stop chirping. It's like one of those horror movies where you disconnect the phone and it still rings with the demons on the other end. Welcome in. I am Mark Patterson. You knew that. And you're in the dungeon where you were more than welcome, guys. Yeah, I do like several horses tonight, on dirt, though, not necessarily on turf. First race is dirt, 5.5 furlongs is the distance. Now, winners in 12 months, so low condition here we're talking about for the opener. And you know what really jumps about this race? Is there going to be a leader? Can anybody pop out of the gate and grab command? Nobody has any speed whatsoever in this race. So naturally, what you're looking for, since it's 5.5 furlongs, and it's been the grain of the mountain main for the last couple of days to favor early speed, which of these sluggish forms is likeliest to go out and get the lead, and which are likelier to go ahead and drop back no matter how slow the pace. We'll start from the top. Team Leyendecker. We've got a couple of changes of hands in there through the claim box that could come into play. Team Leyendecker is a West Virginia bred, but a lot of those races in restricted competition were against far better horses than Team Leyendecker faces here, not only in for $4,000, but gets the full Monty in the way of conditions and is just newly eligible for this is Team Leyendecker. Last time out, Team Leyendecker got one shot at this condition and was in with a horse that would come back to win again, Law of the Jungle. Team Leyendecker was a little bit dull. I'm not going to snow you about that, but even that performance would have a shot to win this. Now, this is interesting because Team Ramjeet's having a good season. And they don't often lose horses through the box. It just doesn't happen too often. This one goes over to Alicia Robillard with her mother, Julie Mathis, no doubt, behind her. And those two kind of train for speed, is my general impression. Not to mean that they can instill something that God didn't in Team Leyendecker, but Team Leyendecker is no more sluggish than the rest of these foes, and maybe less so than most of them. So is it a real reach, given the fact that the inside, I thought at least, was clearly the better part of the course last night, to expect Team Leyendecker to be a lot closer to the pace than has been his norm there. Team Leyendecker has not put his best foot forward this year, but on bulk of form, consistency the speed, figs, and effort there. Probably the best horse in the race. Team Leyendecker, who's a two-time winner going 5.5 furlongs. Number 2, Dusty Billy. This is an Ohio bred with just one outing since last May, and it was not a good outing. Sneed's number 3, an aged gelding, a 10-year-old. My man Craig Cox can still train. It's like riding a bicycle. You don't forget how to do that. But he just doesn't go out and get new stock. He just keeps pounding on the same horses and gets a win or two out of them, much to his credit, because he's a good trainer. He learned from one of the very best, the legendary late Lauren Cox. Lauren Cox, revered in these parts, passed away, I think, year before last. And he did win twice with Sneed's last year. But those are the kind of wins you look at, and you just got to shake your head and think it's never going to happen again for Sneed's, because he actually found the field. Does this sound familiar that he could get the lead on? And I think after the race in the recap, I said, he'll never find another bunch he can front. Well, it's kind of like that James Bond movie that's not really canon. It doesn't really fit in with the rest of them. Never Say Never Again, which was really a remake of Thunderball with Kim Basinger as the Bond chick. Never Say Never Again, because maybe Sneed's gets the lead in here. Sneed's last time out was in a higher condition than this, and is only eligible 10 days worth for this. So this is a drop in class for Sneed's in the condition book. And Sneed's is about as close to early speed as you're going to find in this race. 2 times back. The first quarter was 22-1, and Sneed's was at least second at first call. This is a 9-time winner, this 10-year-old gelding, and I wouldn't be shocked to see Sneed's very prominent, very much with a pace out there. Major Tom, the other horse hitter that's changed barns. This is really weird because Juan Pablo jumps in and halters Major Tom, when it looked to me like he sold Major Tom to begin with over to Larry Reed. What's up with that? So he sells him or permits the horse to flip over to Reed and come to Mountaineer on those terms, and then wants him back last time for the $4,000. That was a slow race. When you see Chopped wins it, you know the number is going to be low, and Major Tom doesn't even have speed at 2 turns. So in terms of tactics, you would think he's behind the 8 ball in there, Major Tom, but has not been a route horse. So the cutback makes some sense. He's been a sprinter, and you got to believe if Silva wanted this horse back, that he had a reason. So it would not be a shocker, Major Tom, but given the just bad race that he exits, that was run slowly at all calls, and the fact that he's got no smidgen of sprint speed, and the pace here could be very pedestrian by 5.5 furlong standards. So he's got some things to overcome, I think. Does number 5, Major Tom. I guess we're at about 4 minutes to post, huh, guys? Number 5, Etretat. He kind of loses me at that big layup from November of 2024 until July of 2026. Etretat, what is that? Like 20 months or something like that. And he was not a real good horse to begin with. It's not like he has all the class in the world to make you believe he's going to come back and have a good second career. But if you forget that stuff and just look at his last couple of races, then he might be the one you want here. Etretat, he's as likely as anybody to be close to the pace, too. As pedestrian as this pace figures to be. Then you got Johnny Quist. Johnny Quist cuts back in distance, and man, has he been in with a couple of bad winners. Chopped last time, and the time before Tappan Royalty, $3,200 there on August the 10th. This is just a really, really bad horse, Johnny Quist. And he took all the play first time out at Mountaineer because they don't even write this kind of condition at the places he was running, and that's a big drop for him. And the public's all over that Johnny Quist. I was all over it. I thought Johnny would run a lot better, but Johnny's just got a case of the super slows. But somebody is going to win this race who's got a case of the super slows, at least to the first call. The horses I'm looking at, Team Leyendecker on the inside here, because the inside was kind of a thing last night. And I don't mind this change of hands too much either. And on totality of form from top to bottom, he is probably the best horse in the race. And then you have number 3, Sneed's. It seems like Sneed's is an opportunist. He found a couple of fields he could beat last year and adjusted tactics to overcome strange race flows or to play into those strange race flows. In other words, he closed when they went too fast early, and he showed speed when they went too slow early. So maybe he can capitalize on where this race is woefully lacking, and that's in terms of early speed. So that's my idea for the first race. As far as race number 2 goes, you're on your own, man. Smoke them if you got them, because, as I mentioned in my opener, look-alike forms, and I just got a headache looking at the second race there. Just a complete and utter headache, guys. We'll go over it when the time comes, but I don't want to steer you in any particular direction when it comes to the front double. So let me go back and take a look at the odds here. Is there ever going to be a leader in this race? Does somebody set the pace in here? Or are they like 8 abreast at first call for the first quarter in about 25 seconds, going 5.5 furlongs? Yeah, 2 minutes to post. And Major Tom is 7-5. They like the return to Silva here for Major Tom, who gets right back in 8 days. And Silva's good on short rest, man. And he's good first off the claim, too. And is basically claiming his own horse back here. So I guess he knows him some Major Tom, correct? So I don't know. Maybe it is that simple, but it's just too tempting for me to try and find somebody who's going to sit closer to the pace than Major Tom. So I am looking at Team Leyendecker as my likeliest winner, and Sneeds is potentially a live long shot. Good luck to you guys. I'll be back afterwards. I've never seen a camera linger that long or be that well positioned to see a complete hazing. You know, some of that stuff could be against the law, man. They really hazed that kid. And you know what? The most persistent was his brother and the jeans and the backwards baseball cap, who just would not quit there, stuffing stuff down the back of his brother's pants and stuff. Congratulations for little Silva there, who's too big to ride. He's too tall. And he's tacking 126. So his future is in something else besides riding race horses. But he'll never forget tonight. And I hope he gets good and cleaned up, by the way, in a timely manner, because I think his dad might have him on another winner tonight. A horse that I like in that ratings handicap. A little bit of a preview here, looking ahead to race number 5, Golden Bandit. I like Golden Bandit in the night's 5th race there. So I think the kid could actually win a couple tonight. And what a big night that would be for him, huh? Pulled off an unlikely win there for my money because the grain was so speed favoring him last night. I know we got help from the stablemate there, Johnny Quist, but still, if you want to take 9-5 on a maiden jock to come last to first in a race with absolutely no speed, and on a grain that was speed favoring to some degree or another last couple of nights, then be my guest. But to me, that would have been a bad bet. I took my shots there. I bet the 1 horse and took my medicine at a short price and had a backup bet on the 3-horse Needs there, who I thought might upset the apple cart there at a big price, like 25-1. But congratulations to the Silva kid. He was jubilant, and deservedly so. I think about 6 laws were broken, though, in that hazing incident. So somebody said you can change batteries on a smoke detector, and that'll stop it from going off. Yeah, I thought so, and I changed it. It's pretty precarious to get up because I have high ceilings in my new house, so it was really tough to get up there and a little bit dangerous, too, with my trick knee. But I did it. And it didn't stop, and I finally figured out it's carbon monoxide detected in the air because my wife was cooking something on the stove. So just very, very frustrating, you know. Somebody else said I can't sear a steak without turning off my smoke detectors. You wanted them, you got them. 3 turf races coming at you, each at 5 furlongs. The second race is an ever 3, $10,000 claimer, and man, these horses look alike. Number 6, Balam, and number 7, Blanton, and number 8, Cascabel are all last out winners at 5 furlongs, 2 of them on turf, and 1 of them at a taken off turf race. And the horse that won the taken off turf race ran well on grass last year. And they've all got some early speed, too. So really difficult to separate that trio, is it not? Another speed in here from the inside. Too Much Ain't Enough, who I think merits consideration. Too Much Ain't Enough. The one turf race wasn't bad. Race denied the lead. Doesn't usually have to roll like that. Too Much Ain't Enough, and was beat just a length and a half at Penn National on the grass there. Also, this horse has some good synthetic form, and a lot of times that translates to turf. So, and this could be the primary speed, by the way, because we're talking about sci-fi acceleration. Too Much Ain't Enough. Now, the last time this horse came off Tapeta to the mountain, he really tanked in October and November there. Hopefully he's in better shape now. His most recent race is not good, but he broke slowly. So there could be some kind of an excuse. He better come away here on his toes from the inside because a lot of horses could be angling down and trying to take what he has. In other words, the hedge. Too Much Ain't Enough. Hot Wings gives you a different look. Hot Wings is a turf winner, but he did so going a mile, going a full big boy distance of ground there, and beat his more highly regarded stablemate, Mr. Business, is Hot Wings always loomed a winner there. He was under wraps, I think, to maybe allow his barnmate to set the pace, Mr. Business, and then came and got him anyways with a snappy-looking victory. Hot Wings that kind of belied his lousy record going in. He was like 1 for 21 or something like that. So he comes back, gets back over to dirt, and once they get a taste of that grass, man, it's usually they don't want dirt anymore. Hot Rules gets the lead there. I didn't like him even a little bit there on July the 28th. I'm not surprised that he backed up. I'm sure he's better on grass. I like the race also to Blind Eye, who would come back and win on Tapeta after he beat Hot Wings. And Blind Eye had some good turf form. Bosley's a turf ace, so that was a good effort too for Hot Wings, who shows 2 good turf races there, turf efforts on his page, and might be unique here in his ability to drop back and pass foes. Because you take a round horse like this and you back him up to 5 furlongs, and he's probably going to be screaming late. The question is how late, from how far back, and what kind of trip he's going to get. It is a low percentage play to do the only closer thing in a 5 furlong turf race, because it can be very perilous to attempt to get some kind of a voyage. And also, the vast majority of these races are won, if not outright in front, and very close to the lead. That's the profile for 5 furlongs on a turf at Mountaineer. But he's a horse I consider here. Number 4, Hot Wings. Number 9, Colt Rock, just to skip over the big 3 with local forms for a second. And Colt Rock, a lot of horses come up from Charlestown to get on grass, do so with malicious intention. And Colt Rock had a rough trip. Was kind of dispatched around the far turn and was coming out of the finish. His first go-around when he came here to run on the grass, and it was kind of a winning effort. And this guy's a good trainer, too. When he comes to Mountaineer, usually he's got something up his sleeve. Colt Rock, with just 1 outing since March under his belt, they went 21 and change early. He couldn't quite keep up. He's going to trip cleanly, I would say, from the 9 post here. You get a long shot at the first turn, but he's kind of got that in-between speed, that could have hooked wide all over it into that turn and coming out of the turn. Number 9, Colt Rock. This is a complicated race with a lot of moving parts, and even worse for me, a lot of look-alike forms. Number 6, Balam. Balam wins last time at Belterra on the grass and drops down in claiming price for this. He's never been in this low for $10,000, and plus he's been away now for some 2.5 months, which kind of makes me scratch my head a little bit on this 5-year-old. The 5-year-old only postward 7 times. There could be some issues there. This horse is not consistently as quick as some of his brethren in here, and since his win was right to the lead and the other was pushing hard on the lead, I don't know if he's going to be a liability for the first quarter mile there. I looked the competition up from his most recent race, and it wasn't that tough, as one of the horses on the trial with him had no turf, and the other just didn't have a real good form. So it's not like he beat a whole lot last time, and it's not like he's guaranteed anything in terms of getting the lead here. Number 6, Balam. So he's a player for sure. And so much depends on who pops the latch and gets out there and holds their turf, to coin a phrase, out there for the lead. We'll talk 7 and 8 after I flip over and check out the odds here. And they are just leaving the paddock, and number 8's taking support, Cascabel. Cascabel was 3 to 5 last time and won like it. Cascabel was very sharp, but he did not face the kind of speed that he's in against here. That is for certain. He was a game speed last year. To race hooked around the turn and respond to be beaten just the neck in an allowance race at 5/8 back in September there. Cascabel, so he's a contender. But I'm not sure he merits quite such a short price here. Number 7, Blanton, in between the two of them. Blanton, the horse that he fronted last time, and it's got to be the most relevant race on his page because this is his most recent race. It was 5/8 on the turf. The horse that he fronted for the lead just ain't that quick. Golden Cookie. So he's in the same boat as some of his brethren in here. He's a horse who likes to lead. He's a horse who wants to lead. He's a horse who doesn't often get the lead, and he's a horse who faces a lot more speed than he did last time. In number 7, Blanton, I'm talking about. So this race is just a hot mess to me. It's hard on the eyes to look at this, and it's so tempting to me to emphasize the horses that are different, but maybe that's a simplistic approach. Since I don't want to dig any deeper into the likes of Balam, Blanton, and Cascabel, it's just natural for me to think, okay, maybe I'll just go in a completely different direction and look at the one horse's the speed here, and he's probably quickest to first call. Too much ain't enough. And I like his one try on turf, and also that synthetic form can translate. And also look at Hot Wings, who poses the exact opposite threat if he could get some kind of a trip, he may be a possibility from way behind here, and he's 6-1 right now, is Hot Wings. Just a very difficult race for me. Don Corleone is 3-1 up there. Don Corleone's got a grass win to his credit, and at the bottom of his page was second a non-claimer at Fairgrounds with a big purse on the lawn. And the last time he was on turf, he won well, and he won well right here, Don Corleone. And he also conceded somebody the lead for a couple of furlongs and then came punching around that far turn. So you make him a pace factor, and he's got some ability to rate. He has never been a fan of dirt, it doesn't seem like. Let me look at him here. Supposedly, he did run an 82 Beyer speed fig. Is that an 82? Do I see it correctly? At some point, that has dropped off his page there, Don Corleone. So should we be so quick to cut him slack for that tank job off the bench last time on conventional dirt? I don't know. If we should, it was a better field. It was chock full of early speed, man. There was a lot of early speed, and those were veterans to boot. So that's a race he may well have needed. So he's another contender here. Number 10, Don Corleone, who might make an offer they can't refuse. It's possible. I wish I could make more sense or be more definitive here, but I don't want to invent opinions that I simply don't possess, because to me, the race is just a freaking hot mess. Back in a couple of minutes. But the 10 trainers record doesn't inspire much confidence that she's going to have this horse on tilt for his big opportunity tonight. A custom fit spot at 5/8 on the turf now does it. Plus, Don Corleone skips a condition for this as just a one-time winner. So we all wanted grass back in. As I mentioned in my opener, be careful what you wish for because some of these turf races tonight look like dumpster fires. To me, that race was just chaos. I get it afterwards why the horse won. He improved by leaps and bounds out of the claim box. Did you see it coming? I didn't. He had been a previous winner on turf and obviously benefited from the race shape. I'm not surprised to see the race won from way back. It's atypical at 5/8 on the turf, but there were so many moving parts there. And your original leader, who was the quickest on paper to the first couple of calls, maybe figured to quit. He did quit. And whoever's coming at him at that point has been taken a little bit out of their preferred style, which is front running. I thought the Silva kid did a good job, by the way, on Cascabel, who got bounced around coming out of the gate. So he doesn't panic. He rates some. He goes over to the inside and pulls off a pretty nifty inside tip out trip with Cascabel. He's throwing crosses left and right. I think the kid's got some talent, even though he sits too high in the saddle for the first part of a race. But the weight is going to stop him from being much of a thoroughbred jockey. He tacks 126. I've never heard of a buck that's that big. And he's skinny as a rail and he's tall. So how much future can he have as a thoroughbred jockey? Objection, inquiry, all that stuff disallowed. As Moon Factor makes for the second straight winner tonight that goes first time out of the claim box and wins from way back in a short sprint. That was the pattern, races 1 and 2, right? Horses that improved dramatically out of the claim box. I didn't see it coming in race number 2, but after the fact, the way it played out doesn't shock me. I did sound a warning note that the 6 horse was an easy last time in victory at Belterra, and I think the price at 7-5 was ridiculous on Balam there. And you can't win from as far back as Hot Wings was. Doesn't matter if Hot Wings was in tight at about the 16th pole. At that point, it was over. Hot Wings wasn't going to make up 12 lengths. Almost nobody can do that at 5/8 on the turf. I got another 5/8 turf race coming up. All 3 grass races tonight, 5 furlongs. And as I mentioned in my opener tonight, a lot of good handicappers hate turf sprints and consider them just organized chaos. So this is a never 2. This is an allowance. 2 of these have won over the course. One of them is a mare going against the guys, Jammer Insurance. Turf is a rare situation in which Americans sometimes beat boys. It happens. Jammer Insurance is a winner over this course. In fact, has got a win in a couple of seconds at 5/8 at this distance. But the other horse that's won over the course, I like here. And I'm thinking about betting number 7, My Balboa. My Balboa has run twice on turf, both at 5/8 on this turf, and that's tonight's trip. And My Balboa ran big both times, I thought. Went up and forced the pace hard and prevails bravely at 5/8 on the turf. First taste of turf last September there and beat Cascabel, who ran really well, I thought, and was probably best in the second race there, Cascabel. So I think that harkens well for My Balboa. My Balboa, first time back to the races. And again, a lot of the horsemen endeavor to have them dead fit off the bench when it involves turf because opportunities can be limited, you know? So My Balboa, first time back, is inside horses. Pull up the video if you've got a chance, and is gunning for the lead against somebody really quick, and then gets topped and takes back rather awkwardly and makes another run. Does My Balboa. I thought it was a gangbuster performance. And My Balboa, I'm not saying the horse is necessarily going to be fitter or improve this time, but we have had plenty of time to avoid the dreaded bounce, the regression second time back after a horse runs hard the first time. And My Balboa, who was inside horses last time, and that required a straight up, vicious, hard send, which Gonzalez really doesn't like to do. He would rather go up and lean on somebody else and do it from their outside. Kevin Gonzalez. So I like that he's pulled outside the other speeds in here. Is My Balboa. Not too wide, though. And you got a good shot at the first turn because it's 5/8 on the grass at Mountain. And you can see the configuration there. You got a long run to that first elbow. As far as Jammer Insurance goes, Jammer Insurance, the other horse to win on this layout. Jammer Insurance by Kitten's Joy and Eric Reed and Jerry Jim Gotchin have done well with some horses by Kitten's Joy, especially on turf. Who's a horse they had a few years back that was just really tough on turf or dirt? And my man, the Jammer, made all kinds of money with that runner. Jammer Insurance
had a behind the pace route form of all things to Jammer Insurance, and then wires them and does so stylishly when backed all the way up to 5/8 last July. And all of a sudden, Mama's got a brand new bag. She's a front running 5/8 horse, Jammer Insurance. So she's out there pounding for the lead. And her subsequent pair of tries there, Jammer Insurance, her off the bench try this year was, I would say, against better horses than these. Plus, it was a higher condition than this. So that's a good performance from Jammer Insurance, who then goes to Belterra. And this is kind of the same deal, I think, as an alarm bell I sounded with Balaam in race number 2 there. The competition was not all that tough last time. The Jammer Insurance was in with is the horse that went out there and dual Jammer Insurance is just straight up not all that fast. Now, Jammer Insurance would be the one you want if Jammer Insurance is able to get the lead, but I'm not at all sure this horse is going to separate early here. And again, the competition was just a little bit suspect last time. I thought at Belterra. Plus, you got a mare going against the guys here, which, whatever the footing, in any race aside from a 440 would be of some concern to me. On the inside, Cowboy Roy. Marshall Godsey's got Cowboy Roy. Cowboy Roy, you know that he's okay on grass because at his first career outing, he actually closed from well back to miss by just a head, not to be claimed at Colonial, which is classy on the grass, baby. Cowboy Roy, let me go over and check the odds out while I continue to talk about this race. Yeah, they're in the paddock, and Cowboy Roy is 9-2. Cowboy Roy does not have an unspotted form, though. Has been the beaten favorite in 2 or 3 tries at Mountaineer and just never lifted a hoof in that initial outing on May the 24th. Would come back in the next one and be forced to a sizzling pace at 6 panels, which he probably didn't want to do on dirt. And certainly set him up to just walk his beat, went in for a claimer in a race that he couldn't lose last time out. Cowboy Roy. Now, the first quarter there was almost 23 seconds. I'm not sure that he's going to be afforded that kind of speed relief for that kind of setup in here, Cowboy Roy. And to try and come from behind, which some of his races in his first incarnation at Colonial, Keeneland, and Fairgrounds almost looked like he could. That's precarious, man, from the inside. When somebody fronts you, you better hope for a trip and hope for the right kind of rating hold and hope for the right opportunity. So Cowboy Roy, more than likely, has got to be gunned. And is he fast enough to get the lead in here? Because it was a cakewalk last time at 5/8. And I am a little bit concerned about the previous pair of races there from Cowboy Roy, but I love Godsey. His record speaks for itself, and you can see what this horse is capable of on turf. And was maybe supposed to be, was cut out to be on grass. If you want to go all the way back to that career debut. If you would look for somebody to come from behind in here, you got Negron on number 3, Roaring Rapids, and Negron, hottest jock on the grounds by far, had 9 consecutive wins, man. Just amazing stuff. And already won from way back on the grass tonight with a long shot. He's on Roaring Rapids here. Not exactly a bastion of consistency. And certainly hasn't fired much since coming to the mountain, even at 5/8 on the turf. But you can see some races on grass at Remington, Sam Houston, Louisiana Downs that would make this horse a late threat. And there is some setup speed, too. The ever dangerous Juan Pablo Silva is the trainer as well. Jumping on down to number 10, Sonny's Prize. Sonny's Prize tries turf for the first time. Eric Reed's over 21 when they go on the grass for the first time. I remember saying one time that he loves turf more than turf loves him. I think it got back to him, too, and pissed him off. Sonny's Prize looked like he could be any kind of horse when he barred 74 to a horse that was legitimate. First career start there at Mahoney, but then the fig takes a big plummet. He loses at 1-10, so something ain't right. And then his next one falls into a really good trip as they banged heads that were going too fast early. He was just in a good cushioned seat there, sitting third, and went left lead and had a hard time finishing what he started from a perfectly positioned trip there, Sonny's Prize. Plus, he's never been on grass, so I can't use him here. The 10-horse Sonny's Prize. If you guys have looked ahead, I mentioned a horse a little bit ago that I think is going to give the Silva Kid a grand chance to become an ever three and two fail strokes to win two races on the same card. If you look ahead at that ratings handicap, which is the fifth on tonight's card, I like number 5 Golden Bandit quite a bit. Golden Bandit, though, will be break dependent, I think, because Golden Bandit missed a kick last time and was very wide and had to make this big hero run to get up with a lead. When Golden Bandit wants the lead right from the get-go, and with a better break, I think is going to have the lead to himself in here. And to me, it takes a considerable drop in class at one of those funky-ass ratings handicaps and is coming all the way down to $4,000 here is number 5 Golden Bandit. So big class drop, controlling speed, ran a lot better than looked last time, Golden Bandit. One minute to post. Since it's grass, that means we're just like about 15 minutes away. Would you guys agree? Yeah. It's supposed to be dry tomorrow. Slight chance of rain tonight. I was going to spray some weed killer on my driveway because One Shot didn't do it. And that Spectracide, they can sue me. I don't care. That shit you buy at Dollar General, it sucks. It doesn't kill anything. So as far as I know, Roundup's not against the law in my region in West Virginia. So I went with a Roundup. And Roundup obliterated most of them in my driveway, but not all of them. So I went and bought some more today. And I was going to get after it. But just a little chance of rain, like a 35% chance at about 3 o'clock in the morning, deterred me and stayed my hand and maybe gave what weeds remain in my driveway a reprieve from the gallows, because it's going to be just stone cold dry and increasingly hot after tonight over the course of like the next 5 days, going up to almost 90 on Monday. So the hotter it is, the better chance those things have to die. So I'm going to wait till tomorrow and then go with Keelan, my Roundup weed killer spray. Famous last words. I think the 4 is a very vulnerable favorite here. I think the 4 is more than beatable. I think the 4 is overbet there at 5-2. So I'm thinking some 7. I'm going to bet the 7 horse here to win, guys. And not surprised if the 3 lands somewhere. Let's take it from off the pace. First race key. Can Cowboy Roy hold his own along the inside? And if not, does he get some kind of trip despite being topped from the precarious 1 post position? Mr. David Shable, I will address your issue about the absence of workouts for 5 horses in the night's second race. I'll address that after this race. Used to be a morning clocker, by the way, the official clocker at Mountaineer, albeit for a brief period of time.
Oh, the race did not unfold the way I expected as a route horse goes out there and grabs the lead, Mr. Business. And you get an upstart, first time starter out of a barn that loves to run a shocking winner or two every couple of years. Doug Adams, their SS Rum Runner with the early hero move. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Oliveros, who somebody just texted me, John, the physical therapist, was giving me good advice about my impending knee replacement. Haven't decided to do it yet or when to do it, but referred to Charlie O as the boss of the moth. And that was a pretty slick ride on Charlie O's part. As he says to his mount the mare, hey, remember when we used to rally a little bit, play behind the pace at a mile and a 16th at Tampa and come up and get second and third and stuff like that? You just kind of sit chilly. Remember those races? And I'll do the steering here. And let's not worry a lot about what's happening up front. It was a masterful ride on the part of Oliveros to play it patiently and get a horse that had been in extreme front running mode last couple of starts to relax and revert to the Tampa off pace style. And resounding winner. And mares can beat the boys on turf. It happens. You know, I said she was overbet at 5-2. Never said at almost 5-1 she was overbet. So all that money disappeared, but she came up big. Did Jammer Insurance there, huh? The one horse was outfooted there. That's so often the case with front running JBMs. They come back and get a reality check first time against winners because they run with more speeds and quicker speeds at that. But Cowboy Roy did run on anyways for a pretty good effort, huh? So we're coming to the fourth race now, 5 furlongs on turf. And this is a maiden claimer, 15,000 we're talking about for fillies and mares. And I think only one or two of these have ever even tried the turf. And maybe just one of these ever finished on a ticket on the turf. Am I correct there? Yeah. Number 5, Rain in My Heart. Kind of a play on words there. Rain in My Heart ran just a 33 buyer in that turf placing and lost by 32 lengths and only beat 2 foes. Sub-zero buyers there to give you the chills. Rain in My Heart. So forget turf form in here and figure like this is something new to anybody who's got a chance in here. Racing itself is new to a horse that I'm thinking about betting on. Mary McGee, who I listed on my lousy Monday Morning Line price points that just cry to be called out. Mary McGee is going to take support here. I guarantee you. For one thing, a lot of folks are going to fall back on first-time starters that are well-connected when the experienced horses are this woefully lacking in any kind of ability whatsoever. And also, Silva can pop with first-time starters. I've seen him do it in claiming races. Not too often, but he can. And Mary McGee, the Dam. One of her offspring, I think, is a multiple stakes winner on turf. Maybe it's Santa Anita, and maybe has another grass winner or two on her resume as well. Whereas Tough Sunday, on top of the pedigree, had a world of early foot and can get some precocious horses. Tough Sunday gets first out winners at like 13% clip or something like that. And I just have a feeling Silva's got this one primed off the pedigree to just come out of there a roll. And Mary McGee. Another first-time starter in here. Number 4 is Single Glance. Jamie Poole will pop with first-time starters. I haven't seen him run anything for these owners, so I don't know if they're calling the shots or doing the training or what's going on. You don't know behind the scenes. But I looked at this pedigree and take George Indy. His offspring pretty precocious and win at a high percentage. First time to the post there. And the Dam, Dancing for Glory, was a good turf horse, but a come-off turf horse at a distance of ground. So she had stamina. She had affinity for grass and some stamina. And her offspring, their average winning distance is like 7.5 furlongs. So you got some speed, precocity on top of the pedigree, at least the genetic influence will take charge, Indy. And on the bottom, you've got some turf. This is a West Virginia bred, is a Single Glance in here. But I like the Silva's pedigree better. It just strikes me as more Juan Pablo-like to unleash one and a $15,000 claimer, just the first time out of the box. Is the jock change the same with this one? Is the kid on? Because I didn't catch the change on Mary McGee. It's got to be the kid, correct? I know the price is going to be a lot shorter than that misconceived morning line there. It's just got to be.
9-2 is number 10 off the beaten path. I think the fallback bet from the experienced horses in here. It turns back in distance after running fourth, but that's at a mile and off the beaten path. Gave kind of a spotty effort, was dropping back to that second quarter, which may not bode well because it wasn't a fast half mile split at all. And off the beaten path was still 7 lengths back and wasn't even close in the same area code as the leaders in those 2 sprint races. So if you want to look and say, okay, it was a mile, the horse hung, at least it was grass experience, at least the horse ran fourth. So turn her back and she's going to show a better finish. I understand what you're saying, but I'm just not sure I read it completely like that. Plus, I wasn't too impressed with a whole lot of them there on July the 26th. I really wasn't. Then you get connections like Send Forth Brawmaster, number 7, and they watch this horse go out there and lose by 24 first time to the post, and they're thinking, hey, it's a grass horse, right? We're still good because this is a turf horse, right? Yeah, we're still good. Yeah, we're still good. Number 3, Gavalia. Please explain to me why this horse was 2-1. First time out there on August the 2nd there. There wasn't much form that preceded that. Maybe the 35 buyer at Prescott when they got back in distance, convinced some folks. That race wasn't all that bad on paper either. His Happy Friday looked pretty good. And I think Red Drapes would come back to win a couple of tries later, correct? So wasn't that bad a race? Wasn't that bad a field? And maybe the money was one start ahead of itself. My dad used to say I was always one race ahead of myself as a horse better / handicapper. So if I lose on a horse or the horse would tank and I love the horse, my dad had bet the horse next time. And it seemed like he did better than I did on those kind of plays. So the field's so bad that even a little bit of speed's got somebody enticed, a little Braveheart. A name for the movie? Rob Roy's a much better flick. If we want to talk about medieval guys going around in kilts and sword fighting and throwing rocks at each other and disappearing into the mist. Rob Roy's just a fantastic movie. And Tim Roth is Archie, the sinister swordsman who's evidently been exiled from Great Britain over to the Highlands in Scotland, is just an indelible character. Very memorable, one of my favorite movie characters ever. Rob Roy, fantastic movie. Braveheart, good, but kind of long and just kept going and going and going and going and going and going. I guess there is historical truth in Braveheart, but also some historical inaccuracies in their costuming and stuff like that, because I guess dudes didn't start wearing kilts until 100 years or so after that, right? My son actually saw Longshanks' boudoir, his bedroom quarters, when he went to Great Britain, and told me they were surprisingly small and modest, not at all royal or kingly. That was a really slow field that saw a little Braveheart on top at the second call last time. And they were moving slow to that second call, by the ways, and had no excuse to fold up like that whatsoever. I think I bet the horse. Not a good memory. I'm going to catch the jockey on the 8 horse. It's got to be the same. It's got to be the kid, right? Silva Jr. Let us see. Fellow denizens of the dungeon. Promised you an answer on the workout thing too, on Mr. David Shable, and I will right after I see who the jockey is here. Dependable Deshaun Parker gets the call here. I'm Mary McGee. Interesting stuff. Yeah, I'm going to bet Mary McGee here. Give me 1 second to get my wager in, and then we'll talk about the workout thing. Okay. When I first became a racing official, and that's back at the dawn of time, that was Cro-Magnon man era. Nobody cared about morning clockings, and the clocker would just go up and sit around, dick around, drink coffee, and give horses works. Get calls from trainers all morning long. I got a horse that needs a work. I don't want to work him. Can you put me something down? So the workout sheet was full of 38 and 2s and 49 and 4s and stuff like that. That's just how the business was back then. It just was not very conscientious. And then things changed gradually. And then they changed to an extreme, to where if a work would pop up or be announced that had never been written down on the original work tab, or if it was suspiciously penciled in beneath the other ones that were printed out of the computer, if you guys follow me, then, man, that clocker would either sit in front of the steward or get a hell of a tongue lashing from the racing secretary, Joe the Cat Narcavish, who brought some authenticity to the workout game in Mountaineer. And gradually the clockers got better and better and better at recognizing saddle cloths and recognizing horses. And it is unlawful to cut a horse loose and straight up workout without informing the clocker. But sometimes there's a lot of action out there, and it's not like a big track where you have 200 onlookers that are well familiar with the horses and the gallop boys and the saddle colors and the tack that the various outfits use. So they slip by. And it's not like anybody's down there lipping the horses to make sure it's the right horse that's reported. So yeah, there's some misreporting of workouts. There's some misidentification when they call the clocker with a name, and you get a lot of people calling the clocker that don't even know how to spell the horse's name. So it's a chaotic process that is not as closely monitored. And it's my understanding there's a good clocker there now. It's conscientious. So it's better than it used to be for sure. And I've seen some good clockers. My brother was a really good clocker when he clocked. Louis Donato, who became chief steward in the state of Ohio, was a good clocker. And I guess the dude down there now is a pretty good clocker. But you don't have quite the same monitoring system or all the eyes backing you up for legitimacy of the workouts that you would at a bigger track. And so many of the people that call and report the works don't even know who the horse is. And then you got the nefarious guys that want to work them out and not tell you and not report it. So it's kind of like sausage being made. You wouldn't want to see it done. And you guys are well aware when it comes to smaller tracks, I don't put a lot of stock in the workouts. I rarely talk workouts. You guys probably noticed that. And that's because for the most part at minor league tracks, I don't trust workouts. I'm not even sure that was the intent of your question. But as far as the 60 days, the 30 days without a workout thing goes, the rule is you got to show a published work past the point of being away for 60 days. Up until then, you're good without showing a workout. I'm pretty sure that it is 60 days. And it has been 60 days. That's like eternal, that regulation. It's different with first-time starters who got to get an okay from the gate. And it's different with first-time starters that are 4 years old or older, or horses away from the game for 12 months. The requirements are different and ever evolving. They have to show a gate work in specified time, usually 52 or less for a half mile. And then the vet has to pull blood when a horse has been away a year, or when a horse is on the vet's list, or when a horse has never started and is 4 years old. The bar gets higher, and there are different requirements that involve some post-work vet work and the horse being lipped and time parameters the horse has to work in. So I hope that was informative.
No, Steve, it has nothing to do with the class of the horse. The rules are uniform no matter what the class of the horse. The only change when horses are on the vet's list and have to work off, and then you got time parameters and the blood has to be pulled, the vet has to observe the work. And also they change where the horse has been away a year. And also you got different requirements and a higher bar to clear with different specifications when a horse is unraced and is 4 years old or older. So it's got nothing to do with class. Yeah, MZ, the 8 is a little bit dead on the board, and that concerns me since silver horses always take a lot of play. Very concerned at the lack of wagering activity on the 8 horse here. It's just amazing how many times it works out like that. The only horse in a race that ever finished in the money on the turf wins it by plenty, and the only other horse that had ever finished on the board on the turf runs second there. So I guess it ain't rocket science. I didn't have a good feeling about my first time starter when Mary McGee was as high as 6-1 at about a minute and a half, 2 minutes to post. I knew that wasn't going to happen. Rain in my heart, I don't know. Looking back now, and hindsight's always 20/20. Did run well first couple of times to the post and took all kinds of play. Like the horse has some talent. And was coming off the sidelines here, training someplace. I don't even know where it is. Ran in my heart. So I guess not surprised, but not a horse I was going to fly out of the window and lay into either. Rain in my heart. I do like some horses coming up. I mentioned to you guys that I'm going to bet on Golden Band unless the price goes crazy low here. And in the late double, I'm going to punch some pretty big tickets. Outkissed in the 7th, I think, is the likeliest winner of the night, the most probable winner. And I will use Outkissed in the 7th race pretty heavily into the one horse in race number 8, Super Kick, with a backup on Where You At Vince in the 8th race there. So I'm going to lay into the late double. And I'm pretty enthused about this race too, coming up, the 5th race, which is one of those ratings handicap races. It's an optional. So if you don't fit the ratings limit, then you can run for the $4,000. 1 mile is the distance. I didn't put the ratings numbers up because I looked at them this afternoon and they didn't make much sense to me. They simply did not. As a matter of fact, the horse with the highest Equibase ratings number is Sense of Wonder, who struggled to win a low condition race. Really worked hard, and you could tell they're bunched up at the finish. So it wasn't a fast race, and the speed fake did not come back that big on Sense of Wonder. Number 6, Big Spin, and number 7, Captain Creed might be the current class horses of the race. Big Spin, a good starter allowance for him there, at least representative. He's a starter caliber horse. He gets waylaid by Force of Justice a couple of times, who won big last night, night before, in his absolute starter allowance royalty. And somebody's texting me like crazy there. Somebody liked that was a lot of 3-1. I guess based on those good outings early in the career and all the play that Rain in My Heart took, and maybe the status is the field's only horse to have ever run in the money on the turf there. Anyway, Big Spin. When Big Spin got help up front, Big Spin won a starter. Big Spin was second at a starter. When Big Spin got very little help and the splits were pedestrian, Big Spin settled for a couple of well-beaten thirds. This is a class drop for Big Spin. And this is kind of confusing. Tried a mile and 3/4 last time. Just isn't a marathon horse. I'm thinking sometimes that knocks a horse out for the next time when they revert to standard route distance. I don't know if that's going to happen with Big Spin. I'm not sure Big Spin's going to get a good tempo up top, but arguably the current class of the field here, Big Spin, who gets class relief. Captain Creed on the outside. Captain Creed has many faces. Captain Creed, you can see where he sprinted really well against much better horses than these, even off turf. That was a better field. And he was reclaimed for $15,000 there at an $11,000 loss was Captain Creed. And Captain Creed's good for up to 11 furlongs, at least on turf, but no reason to believe he wants to marathon at a lap and 3/4. So he cuts back to a much better trip for him in there, Captain Creed. And they really shelled out a lot of money to buy him back there and did so at a loss there on Captain Creed, who's a 4-time winner over the Mountain Maine. And in that regard, he takes the cake in this race, does Captain Creed. Now, if you want to boil him down to his win in the race on his page, it's most like tonight's, the 1-miler on a fast Mountain Maine. He worked really hard to win anometers in 6-month condition, but I'm not sure he's not better than that off his subsequent lines there. That was a good grass field. He was in with Small Field there, an Old Flag. And he's got the look of a horse who's probably as good on dirt as he is on turf. Now, Golden Bandit looks like Lone Speed to me. This intrigued me, so I pulled up the video on the 11th of August race, and this horse missed the break several lengths and then gets hauled wide around the first turn and goes on this merry chase up to come almost abreast Prairie Hawk, who's a now horse, a very sharp speed, a very fast speed, and Golden Bandit hung right in there until the 6 furlong call. I don't think Golden Bandit likes slop either.
So I think a fast dirt track is going to flatter him a lot more. And he may well have needed that race too. That was first out since June and just the second one since March. So if this horse is sound enough to move forward and breaks better in here, you look at the form and look at all that speed. And this is Golden Bandit's race to control. And Golden Bandit's another horse that takes a big drop in class. That was a higher caliber race. And even off turf, there were some good dirt horses in there. And that was a deep field to boot, a very deep field. That was a Juan Vasquez horse who we just rolled by like 6 or 8 lengths at Parks that mauled that field with a wide trip on a night that maybe you wanted to be wide instead of right up on the lead. So congratulations. If you're in the house and you're watching the feed and you just texted me that you liked that winner in the last race, right in my heart. Who had some cred, I guess. I probably shouldn't have blown him off quite so quickly, but I was infatuated with the Silver Firster and kind of lost my enthusiasm there as post time approached and the horse was not live on the board. So you can see my price points of shame here on the Mountaineer Morning Line, 15-1, faced much better in local bow pertaining to this horse. Will be perceived as the controlling speed Golden Bandit here. So I know the price is going to be not that big. And right now we're looking at 4-1 as the other Silva with a diametrically opposed style. The horse that comes from way back is a shorter price here at 9-5. So you see Force of Justice. And you know when Force of Justice is out there, either in front or forcing the pace, and they're going 25 and change. You're up the creek with no paddle if you're big spin with a one-run style. And we've only had one dirt race this evening, right? It was one from out of it with a come around them trip. So it might mean the grain's different than last night when speed ruled and you wanted to be down close to the inside, but it's not like we have a big sample size, correct? And looking ahead just a little bit here, guys, at 3 minutes to post, we got some time. Outkissed in the 7th race is the horse that just ruined me when I was so sure on that grain. And I think it was an anti-rail track. I'm going to check that out right now. On August the 12th, if you turn your workbooks back to race number 7, please, guys. Yeah, maybe anti-rail. I got a question mark next to that. But mired on the inside at a distance he's never been able to get, Outkissed. At least it had been years since he got the 6 furlong trip. In fact, he had morphed over into a 5 and 5.5 furlong quitter, Outkissed, and he was in with so much other speed. And figured to be outfooted there, which he was through the early stages. Outkissed. It was under the gun the whole way, arguably in the worst part of the track, and fighting some fast opposing speeds. It was a speed-loaded race. And the way he held sway, I thought was amazing. He had so much working against him there, Outkissed. And this is a walk in the park compared to that win last time. And in fact, I think it's the same condition that he scored last time, correct? Yeah, because his second win back was August the 13th. So he's re-eligible for the same race that he trounced last time under much less favorable circumstances. So I'm going to go hard on Outkissed. And I'm thinking he's going to be such a short price in the win pool that I'm going to have no choice but try and leverage him in the late double. And Super Kick looks crazy fast. Even if he's never run the 440, man, you're going 21-1 and 21-2 at Charlestown, the house that speed built. An open and 4, and I'm at 4.5 furlongs. So how crazy quick is Super Kick there? And just in case, Super Kick gets fronted by Cash Customer, who's got the polished 440 gate skill. Then where you add Vince, when that one hits top speed on the outside, look out, man. He's a blur in the late stages, but he loses them early. That's where you add Vince. Maybe he figures to get a trip without getting crossed over on out there where you add Vince. So should be cranking it up late. So that's what I'm looking at in the late double there. Another price point that I think is bad on the morning line is in the 6th race, number 3, Spun's Kitten, who skipped a condition last time and ran against the boys and was in much tougher and speed fought. First start back since December and ran 2nd. And supposedly our noble Mountaineer Morning Lines maker would have us believe Spun's Kitten's going to be 9-2. Oh, no. No. Contraire, mon frere. Spun's Kitten's going to be much lower than that. And I mean, much, much lower than that. So we got a lot of info from John, the physical therapist, about the possibility of getting a knee replacement. And he said insurance should cover the whole deal. And he said a big key to post-op pain, and I hear nightmares, man, about people that get the knee replaced. And I got a high threshold of pain. And I'm not bragging, I'm just being honest about it. But supposedly for like 7 to 10 days, you want to die after you get a knee replacement. And he touted me on some ice machine, some cryogenic freeze thing that you stick over the knee joint, the new knee joint. And I guess he told me it's not just a pain soother, but a pain soother of such quality that it feels orgasmic to get it on your sore hot knee. So I got to get me one of these babies if I let him slap a new knee in there. And he's telling me like these things are small and supple and even big enough to hold me, to hold my bulk. So he's telling me the time frame that I will be using one of those walkers, you know, where they lean down, the old people. I should call them old because I'm old, I'm ancient. Where they lean down and put both hands on it and get inside the contraption. He told me you're going to be doing that for about a week. And then after that, a cane. And then maybe 30 days until you can walk outside, like around a grocery store on your own. So he suggested that I do it quickly before Christmas so I can be moving around by Christmas time. But I'm thinking it might be easier for me to rehab the knee if I wait until spring. Because I can get outside and move around on the walker and wave to the neighbors and walk around on my cane. Am I going to get a Yoda cane, one of those curvy things that he smacks people with? Should I get a Yoda cane if I do that? I'm seriously thinking about it because this guy knows his shit when it comes to knees. And he tells me since I am bone on bone, that I'm going to develop what he calls micro fractures. If I keep grinding it bone on bone for too long, you know? He swears to me I'll be pain-free at some point and able to play pickleball without pain. And I like pickleball, which is old people's tennis, right? I've heard it referred to as table tennis, except you're standing on the table. Coming onto the track now, and 2-1 on the 7-horse for Captain Creed, who cuts back from 1 3/4. And second favorite at 5, the 2 turns back out of the same race. Neither horse wanted to go that far. And these are arguably the class of the field, this duo. Sense of Wonder is kind of low up there at 7-2. I'm a little bit surprised at that. Worked hard to win a low condition race last time and barely beat a bunch of them. Were bunched up at the finish, and none of them were too sexy on paper. Jazz with Dennis is as low as 6-1. That's certifiably insane. Jazz with Dennis was a really good $4,000 horse, but a $4,000 horse. And they claimed the booby prize there from a really sharp guy, one of the sharpest in the game, Robert Cole. And had to give this horse a 1.5 years off. And since then, not much from Jazz with Dennis, who returned to the game in a low condition race for $4,000. And then next time, I know it was going 6 furlongs. Somebody perceives this horse as the speed. Do you guys remember that one? Old Flag with a sustained, and I mean dead closing style at a routed ground actually got the lead in there. That was one of the all-time slowest 6 furlong races that actually found deep closing route horses in front and second down the backstretch. So I give him no credit there. He didn't perk up any whatsoever there for me, Jazz with Dennis. If you watch the video and you're familiar with the horses and the way the race played out, that Golden Bandit faced last time and the way he broke and the way he came away from there, then I think you're going to be maybe on the same page with me as far as this race goes. What if Golden Bandit exceeds? And I didn't check this out. The ratings handicap parameters, because Golden Bandit comes in for the claiming price here of $4,000, which kind of implies to me that the ratings were too high to qualify, which I would doubt. Man, I think a fast track's going to move this horse up too, because look at that debacle in the slop. As a 6-5 favorite, loses by 52 back in December. And the dirt race previous to that was a 12-length win on a fast track at Hawthorne. I'm talking this horse up too much. It'll never work. Want to get this enthused. Anyways, I'm going to check out here for a minute and bet and be back at you afterwards.
Hearty congrats to you guys in the comments of like the one horse there. I'm really bummed because if the 5 doesn't miss the break about 3 lengths there, then he's just going to blow this field to smithereens. He did the same thing last time. So since it was a veteran jock up last time, I'm not inclined to blame the kid for the horse breaking like that. Evidently, it's a habit the horse has developed. And still able to cruise up to the lead, a big lead, and do it easily. But that was critical ground given away at the start there. And also energy to get up and get in front. So I would say Golden Band, it was probably 3 or 4 lengths the best there. But they don't pay you for being 3 or 4 lengths the best, much to my chagrin, because that was a big win push for me. I made a big win bet on the Golden Bandit there, but don't want to spew sour grapes. Congrats to you guys. And I see a couple of you, like my man Steve, and they're like the one horse, Sense of Wonder. And for whatever it's worth, and I maligned these Equibase horse ratings earlier on X, and I still believe they're way out of whack. But he had the highest number in there, Sense of Wonder, at like 48 or something like that. I think he had the highest Equibase horse ratings number. Now, you'd have to explain that to me very slowly off that lowly $4,000 condition win that he struggled to record a low Byron do. But he did win the race there, Sense of Wonder. But no way in the world he's going to beat the 5 horse if the 5 horse breaks, even in halfway decent order. But again, I'm not going to blame the rider, however green and however inexperienced, because the horse did the same thing last time. Even a little bit worse maybe with the veteran Leon on board. So that did not go well for me. Our 6th race, 6 furlongs. Fillies and mares never 2 or claiming 15,000 for horses that have never won 3. So you're looking for the 2-time career winners in here. You don't want the never 2s just because they're allowance horses and they don't have to go for the tag. You want the never 3s. Definitely. And Spun's Kitten I called out on the misconceived price points there. Spun's Kitten skipped a spot last time as a never 3 and goes never 4 and goes against the boys. And that was the first start since December. And the horse that Spun's Kitten dueled and outdueled in the engine, Prince Jeremy, came back and ran huge against Out of Sense, the far classier veteran Out of Sense, 2 nights ago, correct? So that definitely flatters Spun's Kitten. Higher condition and with males. Higher tag, and set it up for a come-off winner. The horse that scored there came from behind with a race shape in his favor there. Schuler wins a lot of these West Virginia bred races. Spun's Kitten, really strong speed horse, but there is some other speed in this race, which I guess might be a little bit concerning. Slush Fund just walked to win a route there. It was almost a base on balls on July the 5th. Man, that field was bad. Slush Fund then cuts back to 6 furlongs. It goes 22-2 to the first call, which could at least make her a pace factor. Amour de la Vie I don't like here, but pay no attention to the morning line because this horse is not going to be anything like 9-5. Amour de la Vie struggled to win those 2 races here. They were both lower conditions, and Amour de la Vie was in easy and got the lead in a race with no other speed on August the 4th and worked really hard to get the job done. So you add more distance, both wins are 5 furlongs. But it's not like Amour de la Vie is exactly drawn away there in the late stages. And so you're getting more real estate here that the horse has to cover and much more in the way of opposing speed to boot for Amour de la Vie, who I hate here, I actively hate. Boy, that stung. The 5 horse in that race for me, but I could see it coming. And this is the best way I've ever described it. And I do it all the time. I could see it coming like a slow speed train wreck. From the time they hit the 3/8 pole, I knew 2 things. I was going to lose, and number 2, it was going to be ugly and tight, right down on the money at the bitter end. But the race was lost, not at the wire. The race was lost out of the gate. Schuler's got a couple in here. Number 6, Schuler Gray. Schuler Gray might be quicker to the first call than her stablemate here. Schuler Gray skips a condition. Doesn't really skip a condition, but she's in with never 3s, and she's in never 2. She does have more early acceleration, it looks like, at 5 and 5.5 and stuff like that. Schuler Gray. So I wonder what the strategy is going to be here. And you can see which one that John Schuler likes better because Pagan has been riding them both. But he's going to stay true to his school and stick with Spun's Kitten here, which means either he or probably in this case Schuler thinks that Spun's Kitten's the better of the pair. Is Spun's Kitten going to be rated here? Because Spun's Kitten has never really passed anybody, at least not to win.
Butterfly Effect. If things get hot up top and you get a lot of speed in here, then Butterfly Effect, who was just second. And an allowance race coming to Mountaineer. And who likes Mountaineer? If you revert back to this horse's first field trip to the mountain, ran some good races, did Butterfly Effect, and just some ability to come from behind. I could get this horse something here. Moved way up coming from Charlestown, did Butterfly Effect. Couldn't be because of the trainer, because the trainer's just tanking this season. But that's a horse that should get a piece, maybe a big piece. Butterfly Effect, huh? I'm going to take down my Sour Grapes banner there, guys, and get it out of your way. My whiny, missed break badly, ran much the best banner. When it would be more fitting for me to congratulate those of you who actually cashed, huh? Shannon and I watched Children of the Corn a couple of nights back, and are going to try for Children of the Corn 2 or 3 tonight. We're easily entertained. What can I tell you? If you've ever seen Children of the Corn, and did Stephen King ever write a short story that somebody didn't make into a freaking movie? And we've watched a couple of them this week. Sometimes they come back with Tim Matheson, who's so likable, man, plays the teacher who was plagued by demons that killed his brother, and they're back from the grave, and they come into his high school class. It's a treat, that movie. It really is. And we watched Ride the Bullet about the werewolf, where the good man of the cloth is actually a werewolf, and the ill-fated Corey Haim plays the crippled protagonist who's in some kind of a chair, souped-up wheelchair. And Children of the Corn. And the big question about Children of the Corn, and it's creepy, He Who Walks Behind the Rose, is the kids evidently at the behest of He Who Walks Behind the Rose, some kind of a force man, a force of nature, who's all about the corn, instructs these kids to take these sickles to everybody in town who's like older than 19 years old. So it's a blood fest. But the big question, if you're familiar with Stephen King, if you're not, then I apologize for elucidating at such length on the Stephen King short stories that get made into movies. But if you're familiar with his work, the big question for the fanboys of Stephen King is Randall Flagg the walking dude, the villain, the demon, the satanic imp from The Stand, and who also pops up in a lot of other Stephen King works? Is he actually the entity? Is Randall Flagg he who walks behind the rose? A lot of folks think so. But I'm not sure I'm of that belief. And I might be the only freaking 60-something dude in the history of the planet that is using his YouTube channel and live airtime during which he should be discussing thoroughbred horse races to debate whether Randall Flagg from The Stand is also the demonic godlike entity from Children of the Corn. So dig it. Can you dig it? I'm just different, guys. It's just different how I roll. And I started going off script years ago when I did the Mountaineer feed, because in my heart of hearts, I'm a pretty hardcore horse racing analyst, and I pounded out there pretty hard. I was known for that when I took over the gig there, when I commenced the gig and piloted the simulcast show at Mountaineer for just some hard-hitting, in-depth horse racing analysis and commentary. In fact, they used to call me Dan Rather at some other tracks because I took that shit so seriously, and I still do. But I learned at some point that you have to go a little bit off the grid once in a while and just break it up, because you can't just keep pounding and pounding and pounding with hardcore analysis on top of analysis on top of analysis. And I've always been myself on TV, never script myself, and want to be myself with viewers and want to be accessible. And I think that entails sometimes talking about other subjects. Plus, I swear, I've never been diagnosed, but I got to be ADD, because I just cannot stay focused on one thing for too very, very long, you know? I have all these grandiose ambitions. I want to write a novel. I've got a little bit of talent, maybe not a ton. but I can't sit down and write for more than 15 minutes before I need to flip over and watch a ball game or go to the gym, pump some iron, or flip on some kind of a television channel and watch some kind of a movie, get up and walk around, go have a snack. I have got the attention span of a fruit fly. And that's one reason that I digress from time to time when I do horse racing commentary, guys. If you dig it, and a lot of my fans do, then you're going to be really up for it. If you don't, then this is probably the wrong channel for you. 6-5 on the 3 horse, and my only concern here, because that last race sets this horse above this field. My only concern, you got a front running style there for both the wins. And ironically enough, it is Spun's Kitten's own stablemate that has the most potential, I think, to compromise her and take her out of her front running style. And I have no idea what the chalk talk in the tack room this morning entailed for Team Schuler when he said, "Hey, Mr. Kevin Gonzalez, Mr. Pagan, come on in here and have a seat, and I'm going to tell you how to ride the night's 6th event."
So in the comments section, my man Kenny Neely says that the 6 has got to sit and rate, and he was correct about that assessment. Hojan Lee said, boy, John Schuler sure knew which horse to rate. Yeah, he did. I wonder if that was a function of post position because Schuler Gray was on the outside there. And my man Chris Connors said, got the winner, but won't play her next race on the wrong lead in the stretch. I don't think she can get away with that in the next condition. Maybe you might be right about that, my man. But I'll tell you, the next condition is this condition because she's still eligible for the same race that she just won. And she's got that good speed gear too, if they want to call on it next time. Certainly one takeaway we can have is the track is not the way it was last night or the night before. As early speed and inside speed does not have any advantage tonight, which it definitely did last night. And the speed was certainly king night before last, but different grain this evening. I'm not saying it's anti-rail, but it's different grain for sure. I mean, you can make a living betting a longer shot of a trainer's 2 horses when they're uncoupled. It's almost an angle, man. And now we're coming to the 7th race, and I've been waiting for this horse. I know he's going to be a short price out kissed on the inside. Won the same condition last time, 2 and 12 months, and gets eligible again as out kissed. I was shocked what this horse did because it had a big double going with Mainline Cypher, who ended up second there, was a logical closer and just kicked it in from way back and was just moving stoutly. But Outkissed, meanwhile, back at the ranch, is outfooted down the backstretch and hard gunned in what was probably the worst part of the track. And I never saw Outkissed a 6 furlong capable. And Outkissed was just frolicking in the late stages there to maintain most of that big lead there. Outkissed in rare form and has definitely improved since flipping over to this conditioner. Was an obscure trainer in Austintown, Mahoning, but who does get hot. Crazy hot for brief periods of time. And whatever he did with Outkissed sure turned the ship around there with Outkissed. Outkissed dueled Courthouse Cove the last time they threw down, and Outkissed outdueled Courthouse Cove. I think it was faster than Courthouse Cove. Courthouse Cove could put a lot of pressure on Outkissed, though. And what I perceived at the outset is potentially an inside bias, which I thought was in play last night, is not going to be out there to help Outkissed. I don't think that the post position is going to be any particular advantage for Outkissed. When you get past those 2 speeds, you got the closers, because these 2 will make closers out of the rest of them, except for Scratch Off, who's not a good horse. Beyond the Bend, and aging Beyond the Bend, won a race last year and had some prominent placings there, but needs to catch the right field, get the right trip, and I think he likes 5 furlongs or even 4.5 a lot better than 5.5 these days. Beyond the Bend. Plus, so when he's able to win there, he moved to the front around the far turn last October, so he didn't want to pass anybody in the late stages, I don't think. So if you like Outkissed on top, then maybe a cutback horse like Camp David for second, although I touted Camp David last time on the theory that so many times when big heavy boy Anthony Ferrier brings a horse to town and runs the horse doesn't run so hot and then leaves the horse behind and the horse improves like nobody's business over to King Clouston. I'm not sure that was massive improvement from Camp David, but I like the turn move. And also, Sense of Wonder came back tonight to win. So that makes the race look a little bit better, doesn't it? Did Camp David miss the break last time? And that race is, I'm going to pull up the chart because I keep the racing form on this computer that I have by me. And tonight is not going well for me, guys, from a wagering standpoint at all. So I'm pulling up the replay. I want to watch this break on Camp David last time. Please excuse my absence momentarily here, guys. Yeah, the horse broke okay. Just wasn't all that alert. But after Sense of Wonder wins, even on some kind of a mild class like, and for Camp David, it got back in distance. Not much of a sprint history, but did win at Saratoga, going 6.5 at least.
back in 2025. Sometimes the turn back horses partner nicely with the front running winners in short races like this. Extreme move to turn back a full 2.5 furlongs here. And Clauston's 20% with a good flat bet profit when he takes away a left-hand turn. So it's pretty impressive in its own right. Christensen, another horse that comes from behind and was in with a win factory last time. Toto Fino. He's got this Jammer and Cameron win record, right? He started to run up in Chile. He's like, what, 16 for 28 or something like that? And we just loaded for Bear first time off the bench. So Christensen, third start of cycle, would be logical for second. So if you like Outkiss to win this, then I think the obvious horses that could run second are Camp David and Christensen. Let's check what the board's telling us. Yeah, 3 to 5. This horse is going to be crazy low. So I have done nobody any favors by putting Outkiss out as my best of the night. The best of the night's not the most probable winner. It's the horse that's going to present the best value. And it ain't Outkiss. But I am getting increasingly interested in 1, 2, and 1, 8 exactas here. I already told you guys what I'm going to do in the late double. I'm going to take the 1 to the inside horse, and I'm going to take the 1 to the high top speed, but sluggish early, where you add Vince and the nightcap. I had a question in the comments there too, and I want to pay attention to what you guys say. I think my man MZ asked me if the morning lines maker did a boo-boo by making Super Kick lower than Cash Custom. No, I don't think so. Oh, my good friend, I think Super Kick's going to be the favorite there. He's sexy off those classier races and that 21-1 stuff at Charlestown, the house that Speed built. So Super Kick's going to be the favorite there. I'm pretty sure about that. At least in my opinion. No, definitely not worth betting at such a short price on track. You were correct, Mr. Peter Milburn. Absolutely. So I'm going to try and gimmick up here and try and leverage this horse in some other manner. Yeah, maybe the worst night I've had selection-wise since I started doing this gig. Betting-wise, it's my worst night since I started doing this on the YouTube channel. And I think that's one reason, too, that I started going a little bit different, a little bit off script and talking about some different subjects, because this is really hard to do when you're wrong about races, which happens. It's the nature of the beast, you know, and if you're not cashing tickets and kind of get egg on your face and stuff like that. So it's a good fallback position if you can bring a little levity to it and talk about some different things. It's kind of like a ball player. If you're in a slump, let's say with a bet, and I'm not in a slump. I liked one horse last night and bet the hell out of the horse, and you guys are aware of that. It was that one horse that paid almost $10 in that route race. So I'm not in a slump, but it's a bad night. And on nights like this, it's good if you can go off topic a little bit, add some levity, and just kind of change the subject a little bit. It's kind of a self-defense mechanism when you do something like this, when you do racing commentary, because if your commentary doesn't bear much fruit, and it happens, man, it happens, then you're kind of naked, man, you know? You're kind of naked. And that's something you don't want to see. Oh, heavens, no. I don't even take my shirt off in front of myself. I can look in a mirror without seeing myself when I shave. Not pretty. Underneath my baggy hoodies and cargo shorts, cross training, battered tennis shoes, baseball caps, Irish caps, tweed caps in the wintertime. Let's see what you guys got to say in the comments here. Lloyd Green, welcome back, Lloyd. Missed you for a couple of nights. Said congratulating the chatters after the race is a great way to get new subs. You know what? I don't force it. I do it naturally because, you know, I'm getting to know you guys. A lot of you guys I knew to begin with, you know, and we talk via text and stuff and occasionally on the phone. And you know what? I've been called arrogant. And I do not possess a small ego, which did not make me popular mountaineer.
with some of my coworkers and certainly some folks in other departments. And there was a general perception I was too big for my freaking britches at Mountaineer. But in my opinion, you're not arrogant until you think everybody else is stupid. And there ain't nobody stupid in this comment section. So I want to congratulate you guys. It's on the square. It's a tough game, man. And I will never suffer such a tough beat that I can't pause to give you guys some credit when you call a winner that I did not hit. Yeah, 3 to 5 ain't gonna cut it, guys. What are the doubles paying? The 1-1 and the 1-8. Can't be any bonanza, can it? Yeah, not quite as low as I might have suspected. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna play the double. I'm thinking about exactas too with a 1-2 and a 1-8 here, guys. I don't want a 1-6 because there's two speeds. And Joe Phillips, I think, is kind of counterfeit and beyond the bend. I runs better up close to the pace. So back afterwards. It's not that common, guys, when a one-dimensional speed, even a brave speed, who can go head and head, is outclassed and outfooted so easily. As you can see, the 103 who ended up 1-5 outkissed was totally under wraps and toying with a hard sent, hard urged Courthouse Cove. So I'm thinking with my 1-2 and my 1-8 exacta punches, I'm a cinch when they turn for home. And how the 5 staved off the 8 in the late stages, I have no idea, except it's not my night. So the exacta is not to be for me. But I got pretty good daily double tickets going, $100 a piece with a 1 horse and the 8. And apologies to Michael Zeisler, MZ in there. When I kind of scoffed when he said that the morning lines maker make a mistake by putting the 1 horse lower in the last race than the 2, maybe. I thought the 1 would be favored here, but the low doubles are talking. And they have to be reflective of what the win pool is going to look like, because you got a 1-5 shot that won the 7th race. And the lowest double is where you add Vince, the 8 horse in here. And the second lowest is actually Cool Customer with the established quick break and 440 speed. Yeah, that is just mystifying to me how the 5 horse holds on for second, but it's been that kind of night, guys. As far as the 8th race goes, we're closing things off with a 440, 2 furlong race, quarter mile. Starts out of the chute at the top of the stretch, and they no longer post the times on these races because they're not valid, because there's no run up. They're scrunched back there. When they used to put up the times, it was like 22-1, 22-2. And if you ran those same horses with presumably 32 or 34 foot run up out of the 6 furlong chute, they go 21-3. So the fractions, raw fractions, didn't mean a lot, the raw times on these races. This is 75 claiming, and the haves and the have-nots are pretty obvious here. Where you add Vince is 2 out of 3 against Cash Customer there. Where you add Vince does not break that alertly, and is like 3-4 lengths behind halfway into the race. Has had the good fortune that nobody's come over and taken his path. And any of his 3 outings so far here. I don't think anybody's going to take his path in here either, because I don't think interval's fast enough on the outside necessarily to cross over and where you add Vince. So he's going to have clear room, I would say, out there once he cranks it up and hits his top speed. He is something to behold where you add Vince. You can see where he always got the lead in the longer sprints there, but he's lacking that quick early burst, that sudden beginning that's prerequisite to great success at the 440. And Cash Customer got on his outside last time and really rubbed it into him, because Cash Customer breaks straight to the inside when he comes away like a bullet there. But at top speed, he's not as fast as where you add Vince. So if Cash Customer's on top and you got him, watch out for the 8 horse. Job 1 for Cash Customer would be to outbreak a Super Kick and take Super Kick's path away, or put some heavy pressure on that one and give that jock pause on the inside. There's Super Kick. When you're going 21-1 at Charlestown, that's rarefied air, man. That's onion juice stuff to harken back to those thrilling days of yesteryear. This horse is open in 4 in allowance races at Charlestown, 21-2 to the first call, and 21-1, he's on top. This horse always gets the lead, just virtually every time, except at Keeneland, one time in a stakes race there. It was closer friendly and went 21 and change. So Super Kick is crazy fast. Now, a horse like this can lose at the 440 at the break, which would be this field's best chance to beat him, I think, Super Kick. Super Kick looks like a good breaker, but sometimes when you see a horse coming away 4th occasionally, and I see a 4th there too, also at 6 furlongs, and a 4th at 6 furlongs, sometimes that translates to a sluggish start at the 440, which could be doom from the inside here. So this horse needs to be on his toes out of the gates there to Super Kick. I'm not going to explore his form and figure out at which point he ceased to be effective, even going 4.5 furlongs, certainly going 6 furlongs. The drop makes some sense with him because he's not making any money, man. He wins a 2 life allowance and then hasn't hit a trifecta ticket since. So aggressive placement to move him down to the 7,500 here. Doesn't really matter
if the horse is sound. I don't think at the 440 because he can chop his way with choppy strides at a high rate of speed. Going 440. And I don't see any particular reason to believe the horses are cripped or anything like that. Super Kick. Super Kick is really, really fast. And we see a lot of Charlestown horses with a 4.5 histories that come here, and even horses that don't always get the lead, like that thing that ran in the female a 440 last night from Melinda Sanders and won it. Had a 4.5 furlong history and didn't always get the lead at 4.5 and was going 22 flat and 22 and 2 and stuff like that. So you don't often see 21 and light change horses from Charlestown up here to run the 440. So that is legitimate speed, legitimate quickness that Super Kick brings to the table. But the break, the one caveat is the break. And that's your first race key. You got 2 race keys on the opposite ends of this field. The first key, can Super Kick hold service along the inside and keep Cash Customer from crossing him over or straight up fronting him? In which case, I'm going to guess Super Kick has a higher top speed than Cash Customer does. But on the other end of the field, meanwhile, back at the ranch out there, you want to watch closely and see if perchance Interval, and I don't think this is going to happen, can come away quickly enough to inconvenience where you add Vince and make Vince come out around Interval, which would maybe cost him just a little bit of time to get cranked up and get clear sailing on the outside where you add Vince. So I think the real keys to this race are on the inside and on the outside, to the extreme in both cases, and are both break dependent in this 440. And we're still in the paddock at 4 minutes to post, I see. And right now it is the low daily double horse who's the low win pull odds at 2-1, where you add Vince. And Super Kick is tied for second favorite with Cash Customer there. And since there have to be so many live daily double tickets out there, it's got to be reflective. These daily double pays of what the win pull is going to look like, I would say. Wouldn't you guys? Let's get a look at these horses. And that's number 6, Mark Hamian, who I think once set the pace in a 2-turn graded stakes, believe it or not. The wins have been few and far between, though, since coming way down the class ladder. It was a Jamie Poole horse for a while, and sometimes Sarah Stanachek is like the last stop, as they just kind of plummet private sales from barn to barn. And she's got another out, too, with these horses. She makes Peloponnese out of them, like polo ponies, the way Art Carney used to say it. Sometimes riding horses. Sometimes that's her reasoning when she buys these steeds. She will run them for a while first, though, and likes to run them the 440. And has upset a few of these things over the years. Remy's Gunsmoke, just because the horse can't run 5.5 anymore, or even 5/8, doesn't mean you want to go the 440, because at that point, you're not getting the lead with Remy's Gunsmoke. Cash Customer, the Danny Bird horse. Cash Customer was a good commodity at 5.5 and even 6 furlongs early in his career. I think at Mahoning, Cash Customer. But at some point just developed the case of the quits, even going 5/8. And then found his true calling in life at the 440 here and has won numerous races at this distance. You can't go by the at the distance data field, though, on DRF, because they include, I think, 4.5 furlong records with the 2 furlongs. Cash Customer is the rare 4.5 furlong horse that can probably still run, the rare 2 furlong horse that can probably still get 4.5 or 5/8. But why try it? Why worry about it? As quick as he's been at the 440. And when he wins the 440, it's through the first part of it with a sudden break. And you put him on the far outside, and his opponents are sometimes in deep trouble because he will cross over on them and take their paths almost as quickly as he can, Cash Customer. And you can bet that Barrios is looking to do unto Negron, who still was inside on Super Kick. As they come through the tunnel, where Silva Jr. was hazed earlier. Man, I loved him on that 5 horse and that ratings handicap going 2 turns. Horse, just give me a little bit better break. Just a little bit, please. Can you do that? DRF says Super Kick gelded since the last start. I doubt it. And back in 17 days, I seriously doubt it. And if you saw that stuff is supposedly kept track of behind the scenes, sometimes they're listed as an end tire as a fool in the program. And the trainer finally catches it and wants a change. It is misconstrued as the horse having been gelded. And to be honest, it's not something that many racing officials prove. Sometimes a good identifier or a good paddock judge is going to take a look at the equipment, at the family jewels, and compare it to the program. And sometimes this stuff gets caught a long time after it happened, a long time after the fact. I don't put a lot of cred into the first time gelding thing at Mountaineer because I've seen it too many times from behind the scenes. Interval on the far outside. The interval has not been getting tired in those 5.5 and 6 races. He loses his action, which bespeaks some serious physical infirmities. Stays left lead. It ain't pretty. And I'm thinking Terry Boyd's tired of looking at it, huh? But normally, your garden variety, 5.5 and 6 furlong front runner. So, and in fact, horses that don't always get the lead stand little chance against the hardened, sudden 440 specialists, huh? So my profit's going to be there, but it's going to be scant if the low daily double wins, and he's low in the win pool right now, 7-5 on where you add Vince. And is he so much lower than Cash Customer because he is 2 out of 3 against that foe? Or because Super Kick is taken to entertain Cash Customer? And I got to tell you, Super Kick holds service inside Cash Customer. I think Super Kick is going to do more than dual Cash Customer. I think Super Kick is probably going to win the race. So I want to vamoose now and shut the system down and watch the race. So enjoyed being with you guys, even though it wasn't so good for me at the windows. I hope that you fared better. And as always, you're welcome in the mountain and much appreciated. Somebody asked me earlier in the comments if I'm going to charge a subscription fee. No, I'll never charge a subscription fee, but I think if I can get to 500 subscribers or some kind of deal super chat to where, like, if you want your comment posted or something, it costs $5 or something. I don't know what it is, but I'm not going to charge subscription. I will never do that. So I'm shooting for 500 subscribers. And then after that, I'm going to get real serious about getting the word out and maybe set sight to 1,000 if possible. Because at some point, I got to recoup the money I've got into this equipment down here, which is several $1,000s. Anyways, love doing it. Love being with you guys. Catch you 15 minutes to post on Sunday. Not supposed to rain, by the way. So handicap long range turf. Mark Patterson out.